let's look at this. So one of the big losses was Sean Patrick Maloney. He was the chair of the Democratic Campaign Committee.
DCCC, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee.
Exactly. And his job was to strategize and recruit good candidates for good districts so that they win. And then also to be in charge of the deployment of resources. And this guy backed a really bad candidate who came in and pushed out Mondaire Jones in the district that he was in. This is following the redistricting fiasco, and that candidate was actually him. It was actually Sean Patrick Maloney who decided to switch his thing, and he went on to lose. And part of it was also because he adopted this right-wing frame. Here is he is asked in a New York Times interview.
And let me just say quickly, the fact that he even did this interview right after his loss goes to show how desperate he is to rewrite the narrative. And he has no self-reflection in this, basically, at all. So it's both hubris and also a rush to kind of get out ahead of what is so obvious to everybody. Yes. Yeah.
Put this up. Read that off for me, will you?
There's debate in New York right now about New York Democratic Party and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and some on the left are arguing its leadership is part of the problem here. Is that a conversation you are a part of? And he answers, the last time I ran into AOC, we were beating her endorsed candidate 2-1 in a primary and didn't see her 1 minute of these midterms helping our House majority. So I'm not sure what kind of advice she has, but I'm sure she'll be generous with it. But let's be clear, she had almost nothing to do with what turned out to be a historic defeat of our majority. Defense of our majority. Didn't pay $1 of dues, didn't do anything for our frontline candidates except give them money when they didn't want it from her. There are other voices who should be heard, especially when suburban voters have clearly rejected the ideas that she's most associated with, from defunding the police on down. She's an important voice in our politics, but when it comes to passing our agenda through the Congress or standing our ground on the political battlefield, she was nowhere to be found.
How does this guy this is like Claire McCaskill level delusion as to like giving advice. This guy lost in the suburbs and he had control of all of it. He had control of every resource. He had control of which district he ran in. He had every single bit of power at his fingertips. He could have run any type of campaign that he wanted. And the one he chose lost in New York State and probably cost the Democrats the majority. And this is like I say, if the Democrats had to lose the majority and there was room for 1 or 2 more, he should be out. But he's also, to be clear, part of the Democratic machine in New York State and the New York State Party did not put $1 into that referendum that took place, and they had control over when that referendum went up. $1 into the referendum on the redistricting that took place in the summer of 2021. They didn't put $1 into it. That is a complete failure of political leadership. And AOC responds. Put this up. This is a tweet thread that she did.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to read that off?
Yeah, sure. Let's make something crystal clear. Sean Patrick Maloney courted me for donations to swing races, and it was the first thing I did this term. Over $250,000 for Dems this cycle. DCCC facilitated some, and now he denies it. If he isn't aware of my visit to California and efforts we put in, that's on him. Because of Dem Party abandonment in key areas, statewide victories depended heavily on driving up numbers in progressive areas like mine and New York Working Families Party. To our knowledge, I was the only New York City House Dem in a safe seat to run a full-throated, heavy field operation for Get Out the Vote. Next tweet.
And we should say the importance of that is that it's helping everybody on the ticket that is running statewide.
Yeah, right, exactly. What I love about his claim that we gave frontline members donations they didn't want, the vast majority were good with early financial support to position themselves early. B, for the few who didn't want our help and got it, where do you think we got the money info to give, the DCCC? So, you know, she's essentially saying that's
They told
where
her.
they told her
Yeah.
to send the money. As for him not seeing me, perhaps it's because he, as a party leader, chose not to see nor value prominent members of his party for years. Either way, we will continue to organize and turn out undervalued and unseen communities in this country, whether the powerful like it or not. And she added, lastly, many moderate Dems and leaders make it very clear that our help was not welcome nor wanted, despite our many, many offers, yet found ways to try to help from afar. So for them to blame us for respecting their approach in their districts is laughable. Take some ownership. I mean, that's like the key point here is that they are scared shitless of the defund narrative. So they said, AOC, take a step back. You know, we'll ask you for money behind the scenes and then deny it later, but we just don't want you front and center because you're associated with the radical left. And I mean, she did what they asked. She played ball, and then he goes and shivs her in a way to like cover his own ass in the New York Times. Just says everything you need to know about Sean Patrick Maloney. If you didn't already realize who he was after, you know, bigfooting Mondaire Jones, and then losing his race, this is who he is.
Yep. And good riddance.
Yeah.
Go work with Crowley on some type of like I don't know. I'm sure semi-corrupt project somewhere.
Yeah, who also coincidentally did an interview, I think, with the New York Times after he lost to her, where he was blaming everybody but himself. So I'm glad that this outlet gives people like that a platform.
Yep.